Welcome back to Unrendered. I'm chatting with Senator Julian Francis, General Secretary of the Unity Labour Party. Senator Francis, let's continue to look at these issues that you intend to use to give the ULP the best chance of winning the next general
Well, you had stopped me at the first pillar.
Yes,
Tony.
we were talking, I think you were going on to the housing project.
No, what I'm saying is
low-income housing.
I was giving you 4 pillars of the campaign.
Right.
I gave you achievements, and you stopped me there and asked me to give you examples.
Some of the
I told you that's 200.
Okay.
You said talk about some of them.
So if
we go into detail on all of them, we're not going to get to the third pillar.
Correct, but let's just talk about some of the achievements. Let's just continue a little bit.
Low-income housing program.
Low-income housing.
You know, we had, as I told you in the intro when I was introducing myself, you asked me who Julian Francis was. Tony, since Labour Party built places like Peruvian Vale and Sharpsdale, just since I was just started working, there's been no housing program in this country for the low-income persons, you know. James Mitchell say if you want land, if you want a house, go in the bank, borrow money, and build your own house. We established a subsidized program for low-income owners in this country, low-income earners, up to $1,750 a month, from $750 to $1,750.
That is a difference in policy in the way you see helping poor people. I think Sir James' government was looking at land reform, and he believed that wealth
land distribution is different to land reform,
wealth, whatever you call it, but he believed
the
that
people in Lauders, Tony, up until today,
yes,
don't have title deed for the land reform that he did. He distributed land today. I put from Diamond, Tony, Diamond alone, just before I left cabinet, I took 192 lots at Diamond to be regularized for people to get their title deed. You know.
Well, albeit it may have been tidy.
That is what you call land reform and land ownership.
Okay.
Turning dead capital into live capital, making sure the persons get the benefit of what your program is.
Yes.
That is what the socialist orientation is all about, you know.
So
that is where we basically differ from James Mitchell and the NDP.
So it may have been tardy, but I was just saying
not
that
tardy. They didn't have a program, Tony.
His policy may have been to have poor people own land, and with land came the power. And with the power of wealth, they could have built houses.
No. That wasn't his reading.
It wasn't?
No. James Mitchell's approach to this was distribute the land and get a vote. That's my honest taking on James Mitchell. Distribute the land, get their vote, keep them in a rental ownership. Don't get them no title deed. The minute they get title deed, they become their own boss. And they stop voting for you.
Okay, let's move on.
We are doing it a different thing. We are giving them title, make themselves their own boss, send their children to school, send their children to university, start a small business, buy a minivan, buy a piece of land, another piece of land, build your house. That's how we're talking.
Let's move on. Let's look at, because I want to get to the pillars.
Right.
We're
That's why I was telling you.
We're still on number one. We're still on number one.
The second is our vision and philosophy. And I touched on some of the philosophy and the vision of the party under the social democratic platform. Basically, we help the economy rolling, maintain justice and equality among the people, make sure that their basic necessities in life are fulfilled. We are about 98% on water connection in this country. We have built over 600 and something low-income homes. All these are subsidized operations. The educational system is heavily subsidized in this country. So that's under the vision and philosophy.
It's not very onerous on the government, though. Where does the government
generate? It is onerous on the taxpayers who are glad to pay it to help their other disadvantaged members of the society. Tony, people don't fuss too much about paying taxes if you share the philosophy of helping your neighbor. And if they see that the money is spent in the right area, like low-income housing is a program that the majority of Vincentians love, including NDP supporters.
But your ability to collect income tax, or not to collect it, but to get income tax revenue is directly linked to
all of this is not paid out of direct taxes. They're grants, you know. They're grants. We got $9 million grant out of Venezuela to build low-income homes, you know.
I know that.
We had to pay that back.
Okay.
You can see what you are about Chavez and his politics inside of Venezuela. Our relationship with him, we get Alba, we get LPG gas, we get storage for things, we get no-income houses out of him. And we get plenty more. They want to unsign it, they can go ahead and unsign it. We ain't unsigning it, we sticking with Alba. because it is helping us to develop this country. For
So
the
you're
benefit
saying
of
that the ULP has far better vision than what
completely
the NDP
The NDP has
is
no
touting?
vision, because the fifth thing I was going to tell you when I finish, I'm going to tell you what it is. So that's the achievements, or
Right.
record of achievements, or vision and philosophy.
That's the second pillar.
Third, our
pillar.
slate of candidates.
Okay.
Fourth, leadership. And what we are campaigning on. Fifth, the NDP has none of these. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
So you have the
your
four
logic.
pillars, and for the campaign strategy, is that these are the pillars of our campaign,
Yes.
and we are telling you and showing you that the NDP has none of these. Our slate of candidates is a far more exciting slate of candidates. We have changed 7 of our candidates. They are bringing back fellas they rejected in 1990-something, fellas who have run 3-4 times and lost. They're bringing them back in. We have changed 7 out of 15 of our candidates, Tony. Young, bright, exciting young people.
So that's your third pillar, or your
That's the
fourth?
third pillar.
Okay.
Leadership, Ralph Gonzalez.
Yes.
And the leadership of the party, the team. In other words, you have a slate of candidates. When you mesh that with the leader now, you have the team. But Ralph Gonzalez's leadership, that is what one of our strong pillars of campaign is in this election.
I'm glad I'm having this conversation with you, because I'm
glad to.
I'm understanding what your campaign strategy is. What you're telling me now, and what I have been hearing though, Julian, is, in reality, I'm hearing a lot being said about SCL, for example, Strategic Communications Laboratories, who are the consultants for the NDP, okay? And I'm wondering if, in fact, while you're telling me this on this program, out there, those issues are being pounded more. I listen to some
Those
of them,
those four pillars that I've spoken
Yeah.
about have been articulated on every single platform since we started meeting in May.
But yet I get a lot of this SCL stuff.
Well, let me put it this way, Tony. While you're advancing your platform for your campaign, you also have to remind the people of what the NDP is all about. You can't reject them, you can't forget them, you know. You have to remind the people, look, this is what the NDP, this is how the NDP is approached. That's what I'm saying. We have 4 pillars. And there's an absence of those 4 pillars inside of the NDP. This is what the NDP represents. SCL, behavioral dynamics, selling passport, selling ambassadorial positions. Alan Cruikshank had written a fella had written Alan offering him $100,000 to get an ambassador somewhere, to represent St. Vincent somewhere. I mean, that is
I read your party's column in the newspaper this Friday. And you said that the NDP is faltering. And you use... That's what you said. You
say understatement.
You say it's faltering. Well, you understated it in your column.
Yes, I think it's an understatement.
In reference to
if I were it in that column, I would put has faltered.
Has faltered. But in reference to that, you said that the letter that Anna Eustace wrote to the Caribbean community failed to gain the attention of Shelley Clark. And you described Shelley Clark as the editor of a sycophantic and ridiculously partisan newspaper. Why are you making these allegations? Is there substance to this?
There is. If you read the newspaper every week, you will find it, Tony. There's 3 weeklies. There's the Vincentian, there's the Searchlight, and there's the News. Lay them before you. Look at front page, look at the editorial, and look at the letters inside there.
Okay. I see the Searchlight as being leaning towards the ULP. If you ask me to lay them in front of me, I see the Searchlight. I'm looking at the front page as you've asked me to do, and I see the Searchlight as being, more times than not, leaning towards the ULP, right? I see the Vincentian newspaper as being down the middle, to be very honest with you. I see the newspapers being what the newspaper always was. They always were a stickler, you know, they always were antagonistic to the present day government. So there's nothing new about them now than what they were when the NDP was in power. So I don't understand why you would now describe them as being
my response to that,
the way you're describing them.
The letter from Eustace didn't impact Shelley.
That's fine.
Because it was badly written.
Okay.
And secondly, the letter for Ralph was well written.
Right.
and therefore attracted Shelley.
But I wasn't talking about I wasn't talking about that issue. I was talking about the fact that the way you described Shelley. Do you really believe
I don't discuss personalities.
Well, the news newspaper. Do you really believe the news newspaper is
I don't think there's a matter that we should
biased?
spend time on in a limited time, because you say we are behind in our discussion. Because I'm not going to discuss. I don't think Shelley Clark, as far as I'm concerned, is worth my discussion on television to say. I have no respect, absolutely, for Shelley Clark and his opinion. If you ask me, my Julian Francis personal opinion, Shelley Clark is total anti-Ralph Gonsalves. Total anti-Ralph Gonsalves. Despite all the help that Ralph Gonsalves has given Shelley Clark. Despite that. Lots of help. And if you corner Shelley Clark in a corner and ask him, he may confide in you the help that Ralph Gonsalves has given to him and Shelley Clark. Shelley Clark has gone down a road totally anti-Ralph, anti-Unity Labour Party. He will do anything to write in his papers. His journalists inside, they have a hell of a time to put in an article for us, you know. When we have a public meeting, it's a hell of a job to get a write-up inside his newspaper.
So, okay, you're just bearing out the point that you think that the news newspaper is partial.
Anti.
Okay.
Anti.
Let's go to SCL as one of these issues again. You mentioned in the same column, actually, that they have the sale of St. Vincent, the NDP's consultants are interested in the sale of St. Vincent. What do you mean by that? What are they doing to sell St. Vincent?
Sell passports and citizenship. They have discussed the possibility of them buying out the airport site. They have discussed the possibility of Ovia Fisheries Complex and foreign ambassadorial positions, not us being represented in a country, but somebody in that country being a representative for us, where we don't have a full-fledged
So, Senator Francis, you're telling me that the SCL is not just consultants in the way that your consultants would work for you in the campaign?
The way I understand SCL works, and they have worked in St. Kitts, and I've gotten that confirmation out of St. Kitts. They have worked in Dominica. I've gotten that confirmation out of Dominica. They have funders. They have people who finance them, SCL, in a political campaign. So they secure their money from somebody, but they have to give that person a commitment. So they come to a political party and say, hey, I can carry your international campaign for you, I can get you all the paraphernalia, I can get you your billboards, I can do your advertisements for you, I can help you draft your quick responses and your media work and so on and whatnot. Give me the commitment that when I make you win the government, you will give me exclusive right to sell Vincentian citizenship. That's how it works. That's why we are saying what we are saying. If you listen to Mr. Eustace recently, he made a statement about other sources of financing operations in St. Vincent other than direct taxes. And I am saying he's going back in that area.
Okay.
And we are not, Vincentian passports and citizenship is not for sale under Unity Labour Party administration.
Okay, I have to go to a break. When we come back, we may pick this up a bit more. You're looking at Unrendered. My guest is Senator Julian Francis, General Secretary of the Unity Labour Party.